Welcome to the Expensive Coins History channel. In the world of coin collecting, some treasures shout their value from rooftops, while others sit quietly in drawers and dusty boxes, waiting for the right moment to reveal their stories. Today we examine the 1970 German 5 Pfennig coin bearing the mint mark F. A coin so ordinary in appearance, yet backed by history, subtle rarity, and surprising potential value. It's time to reveal whether this tiny coin might be worth far more than most people ever imagined. The year is 1970. West Germany is deep into its post-war resurgence, known as the Wirtschaftswunder, the economic miracle. Every day, millions of citizens move through cities, shops, and factories carrying Deutsche Mark coins in their pockets. Among them is a small, brass-colored coin, the 5 Pfennig. Lightweight, modest, and often overlooked, it plays a vital role in daily commerce. It buys newspapers, pays for bus fares, feeds vending machines. It is the smallest building block of a strong economy. The coin in our spotlight today carries the mint mark F, signifying that it was produced at the Stuttgart Mint. In 1970, this mint struck an enormous quantity of 5 Pfennig coins, tens of millions. With such a large number entering circulation, the coin was everywhere. It was a workhorse denomination, handled until its edges smoothed out and its surfaces dulled. As a result, most examples that survive today are heavily circulated, carrying decades of wear. These well-worn pieces, while historically interesting, rarely command more than a modest collector premium, but don't let that fool you. Even coins that once seemed ordinary can hide pockets of rarity. The true value of the 1970 F5 Pfennig lies not in the raw quantity struck, but in the condition of the few pieces that survived without the harsh treatment of daily circulation. A coin that escaped wear and tear, kept in a drawer, a collection, or a set, can suddenly stand far above the rest. Collectors today are searching not just for the coin itself, but for excellent condition, crisp details, and a clean, untarnished surface. As the camera zooms in, the coin's oak seedling symbol glitters under the light. Every detail stands for something. The stylized oak sprout symbolizes growth and rebirth, echoing the nation's resurgence. The number 5 on the obverse is bold and simple, reflecting the practicality of the time. Each feature is a piece of the story, and every element becomes more important when a collector evaluates rarity and value. For most surviving 1970 F5 Pfennig coins, the value remains modest. In average circulated condition, collectors typically pay only a small amount, usually well under $1. These coins are common, easily found, and plentiful in worn grades. But as condition improves, the landscape changes dramatically. Uncirculated examples, with bright surfaces, sharp edges, and original mint luster, can sell for several dollars. In exceptional near-perfect condition, the price can rise even further, reaching the upper end of the low-value collectible range. The real jump in value appears in rare cases: coins that were part of special sets, coins that retain striking sharpness, and coins with unusual errors or varieties. Some collectors have paid much higher prices for beautifully preserved specimens that stand out dramatically from the millions of worn examples. In the hands of a knowledgeable buyer, an exceptionally high-grade coin can transform from mere pocket change into a desirable collectible. As we move into 2025, collector interest in historical European currencies continues to rise. With each passing year, fewer West German Pfennig coins remain in pristine condition. The euro age is now well established, and younger collectors are beginning to explore the currency their parents and grandparents used. This increased attention adds small but steady pressure to values. For the 1970 F5 Pfennig, this means its most common worn examples remain affordable, but its best examples, especially uncirculated or visually striking pieces, gain momentum. In today's market, a typical circulated piece holds minimal monetary value, but a superb uncirculated example may command anywhere from a few dollars to a notably higher price depending on the buyer, the grading, and the venue of sale. The coin's value in 2025 depends heavily on quality. A collector today is searching for coins that look as though they were minted yesterday, untouched, bright, and nearly flawless. If you hold such an example, it already stands out among tens of millions of others that endured decades of circulation. That level of preservation adds rarity, and rarity adds worth. As the coin turns one final time under the camera lights, it becomes clear that this 1970 F5 Pfennig is more than a relic. It is a piece of Germany's story, one that reminds us how even the smallest objects can hold meaning, heritage, and a surprising journey through time. Whether your 1970 F5 Pfennig is worn from use or sharp and gleaming, it represents a chapter in monetary history. Some viewers may find only sentimental value, while others might discover they possess a truly standout example that fetches real money on the modern collector market. The key lies in close examination, understanding condition, and recognizing that sometimes the quietest coins can deliver the biggest surprises. The 1971 German 5 Pfennig coin with the F mint mark, a coin you might own, a coin you might underestimate, and a coin whose value in 2025 just might surprise you. In 1971, West Germany was thriving. The country was modernizing at lightning speed, its industries booming, its currency stable and respected. In the middle of this financial powerhouse circulated a small coin, only 18.5 mm wide, weighing just around 3 grams, made of simple brass-plated steel. To the average person, it was nothing special. Just 5 Pfennig. Loose change. But this coin was more than that. On its obverse, a young oak seedling symbolized rebirth, a nation rebuilding from the ashes of war. On the reverse, the number 5 and the word Pfennig stood proudly between 2 ears of rye. And tucked above them, nearly unnoticed, was the letter F. The mint mark of Stuttgart. A tiny letter that would determine its identity and, decades later, its place in the collector's world. In 1971, the Stuttgart Mint produced tens of millions of these coins. They were everywhere. In stores. In buses. In pockets. They bought candy, train tickets, newspapers, you name it. Nobody saved them carefully. Nobody imagined a 5 Pfennig coin would ever be collectible. People spent them, scraped them, dropped them, wore them down, and eventually, most of them vanished from circulation. When Germany switched to the euro in 2002, billions of Pfennig coins were turned in and melted down. What survived? Only the lucky ones. The forgotten ones. The ones that somehow escaped destruction. This is where the story turns shocking. Even though millions were minted, finding a 1971 F5 Pfennig coin in absolutely pristine condition is far harder than most people realize. Most of the remaining examples are scratched, dull, and worn, the kind numismatists pass over without a second look. But the few that do survive in crisp, uncirculated condition, with clean surfaces, sharp edges, and full mint luster, those are the treasures. Those are the coins collectors chase. And those are the coins capable of fetching surprising prices. In general, the regular 1971 F5 Pfennig coin is not a jackpot coin by default. A heavily circulated example is usually worth only a modest amount. A few dollars at most. But this is where condition becomes everything. When you take a coin that was mass-produced for everyday life and instead find a specimen that looks like it just left the mint yesterday, its rarity skyrockets. Suddenly, something once considered common becomes highly desirable. Collectors who build year by year, mint by mint collections of German coins know how hard these high-quality examples are to locate. But there's another twist. A very small number of 1971 coins from the Stuttgart Mint were struck to an elevated standard, coins with brilliant surfaces made for collectors rather than circulation. These pieces were never meant for pockets or purses. They were struck carefully, with better dies, crisper details, and cleaner finishes. And today, these special examples are extremely hard to find. When they do appear, they command strong attention and solid prices. And now, the question on everyone's mind: what is the 1971 F5 Pfennig coin worth in 2025? As we break through the misconceptions, the numbers begin to make sense. A typical circulated piece might sell for a few dollars, a small but respectable amount for an older European coin. A nicer, lightly circulated example can bring a stronger return, especially if the fields are smooth and the details remain sharp. But the real shock lies in the high-grade coins. Brilliant uncirculated examples can rise significantly in value. Collectors searching for perfect or near-perfect specimens, especially those working on full Bundesrepublik series sets, are willing to pay higher amounts because these coins simply do not surface often. Think about how many people handled these coins every single day in 1971. Think of the rough surfaces, the dirt, the moisture, the friction against other coins in pockets and drawers. Finding one today in excellent condition is like finding a time capsule from another era. It feels almost impossible, yet a few exist, waiting, hidden in drawers, jars, old boxes, or inherited collections. So if you own a 1971 F5 Pfennig coin, here's your reality check. It could be a fun collectible with a small value. Or it could be a much more desirable piece if it's in superb condition. The difference between a worn example and a pristine one isn't small, it's enormous. And in 2025, collectors are paying more attention than ever to precision-graded European minor coins, especially those from the pre-Euro era. The 1971 F5 Pfennig coin may not be the rarest German coin ever minted, but it is a survivor of a world that no longer exists. A world where the Deutsche Mark ruled daily life. A world where 5 Pfennigs could still buy something. And for collectors, that history, combined with scarcity in high grade, gives this small brass-colored coin a surprisingly strong presence in today's market. So check your drawers. Search your collections. Look at the details, examine the surfaces, and don't underestimate what you find. The tiny letter F above the ears of rye may be the clue to a hidden collectible. And as more collectors complete their sets and demand cleaner examples, the value of well-preserved pieces continues to rise. The 1971 F5 Pfennig coin may be small, but its story is anything but. 1994 A mint German 5 Pfennig coin begins in the final decade of the Deutsche Mark era, when millions of small-value coins moved through the hands of everyday people across a newly unified Germany. The 5 Pfennig piece, compact yet iconic, represented one of the lowest denominations in circulation. In 1994, the Berlin Mint, marked with the letter A, produced a massive quantity of these coins. Minting numbers were extremely high, meaning that from the very moment these coins left the presses, they were never destined to become rare in the traditional numismatic sense. Their purpose was simple: circulate, be spent, be forgotten. Yet today, this very ordinariness has led many unsuspecting owners to believe they may hold a hidden treasure. As collectors began looking back on the final years of the Pfennig coins, whispers grew online about certain mint marks being rare or special. Common enthusiasm, misinterpretation, and a growing interest in obsolete European currency led to confusion. In reality, the A mint mark of 1994 is among the most abundant of its year. Millions upon millions were released, and tens of thousands survive today in collections, drawers, and souvenir tins. The shock for many comes when they learn that a coin believed to be rare is actually one of the most plentiful of its kind. Only coins from lower mint production cities or extraordinary era pieces gain significantly above average market attention. The truth becomes even more surprising when values are analyzed. In circulated condition, the typical 1994 A5 Pfennig coin is generally worth only a small amount, often just a few cents. The material itself, brass-plated steel, holds no intrinsic precious metal value. Even pristine examples, the kind that show no signs of pocket wear and still shine with their original luster, rarely reach more than a modest sum. For collectors seeking uncirculated, perfectly kept pieces, prices can rise but remain modest, often topping out in the single-digit or low double-digit range. The coin may be historic, but it is not financially explosive. Nevertheless, the coin does carry a type of value that goes beyond price tags. For many, it symbolizes the final years before Germany transitioned to the euro. It represents a vanished monetary system, a nostalgic moment in modern history. Collectors appreciate these coins because they form a complete picture of Germany's economic and cultural identity before the year 2002. The sentimental and historical weight often exceeds the monetary value, especially for those who remember using these coins in daily life. For those hoping for a jackpot, the hard reality is that this coin will not transform into a high-value rarity. The reason is simple: supply dramatically outweighs demand. No major errors, no limited run-proof issues, no precious metals, and no documented rare varieties make it stand apart. However, condition does play an important role. A visually stunning, untouched, mint-state example can command respectable collector interest. Coins pulled straight from mint sets or preserved carefully since the 1990s always perform better than heavily used pieces. Looking at the market in 2025, the financial outlook remains steady. You can expect a typical circulated 1994 German 5 Pfennig to sell for a very small amount. A bright uncirculated coin may reach anywhere from a few dollars to perhaps 10 or slightly more depending on the collector and the venue. Exceptional specimens or coins certified by a professional grading service can nudge the value a bit higher, but even then, the increase remains limited. The market treats this coin as a common collectible rather than a rarity. If you own one of these coins, it is absolutely worth keeping, not because it will make you rich, but because it is a tangible piece of modern European history. It marks the end of an era, the transition of a nation, and the fading of a currency system that lasted decades. Although the monetary value may be low, the historical story is rich. And for many collectors, that story is the real treasure. So the shock is not that this coin is worth a fortune. The shock is that so many assume it could be. In truth, the 1994 German 5 Pfennig is a piece of history with modest financial value but strong cultural and nostalgic significance. For those who appreciate what coins represent, moments in time, national identity, and the evolution of economies, this humble Pfennig remains absolutely worth holding onto. If you enjoyed this deep dive into a coin that hides enormous history in a tiny package, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share your own discoveries in the comments. And remember, sometimes the most shocking treasures are the ones hiding in plain sight.